Hey, this is Robert Plank from dfypodcast.com. You should be on podcasts. You should host podcasts. You should be a guest on podcasts. It is not easy at first, but it's easy once you do a handful, and it's fun, it's rewarding, it's your networking tool, it's your content tool, it's your way to have things to post on social media, the way to raise your profile, the way to rise in those pesky search engine listings. You can and you should podcast. And one of my favorite tools to podcast is this tool called OBS Studio. It's actually what I'm talking to you at right now. It's how I can switch back and forth, and I can be looking at this camera and switch over and talk to that camera, and even switch back over and show what's happening right here on my desktop. And if you know somebody who's in your industry, who has a message, who has a company, who has a service, then they need to be on your podcast. That way you can get their story from them. But another really just content-rich source of guests are authors, because you have some author on your show and you can hold up their book, and you can even just flip through their book before you talk to them, even look at their table of contents, and you have unlimited ideas of what to talk about if you have an author on your podcast. And it's also a very nice, powerful prop. If you could hold their book while you're on that Zoom call and it shows them on their screen and you on your screen, but you're holding their book while they mention their book. But it's not always easy or practical or just worth the cost of, like, sometimes some hardbacks are like $20, then you have to wait a few days for it to arrive, then you have a closet full of books. So how do you do this virtually? How do you create the effect where I'm talking to you right now and I talk to someone's book, and then suddenly it's right there and we can just talk about their book, and you kind of almost have the same effect, right? Or maybe you could even hold your hand just about, I don't know. But the point is, you can be on a Zoom call and you use this software here to pipe in all this input where you can switch cameras. But more importantly, when you're on camera, you can pop up the book of the person that you're interviewing. And I don't think this really works as far as like someone's company or brand name or logo, but if they have a book, I definitely would use this technique when you're interviewing someone on a Zoom call and you're recording it, to flash their book on the screen. Let me show you really quickly how to do that. We're right here using this tool called OBS Studio, and with OBS, you can just basically set up your video the way that you want it, and then you can click on this start recording button right here and save what you have into a video. You can also stream, but what I really like to do is click on this start virtual camera button. You click on this, and now it's not really recording, but if you then join a Zoom call and you set your chosen camera to be what's called an OBS virtual camera, then anything you put through here is what will appear on your Zoom screen. So technically, you could do this. You could show your desktop, and this is what would appear instead of you on the web camera. You could click over and switch to another camera while you're mid-zooming and mid-presentation. You could add text onto the screen as you're talking, and all these cool things because you used OBS Studio, you clicked on Start Virtual Camera, and then on your Zoom call, you use the virtual camera as your source. So how is this done? Well, here's what we do is I will remove these various settings here. And here we go. Now we don't see me at all, right? And we have our podcast raw scene that we want to set up. And if you're setting up OBS for the first time, then you will just see, I think, just the one default scene. We go to sources, click on this plus sign, and then choose video capture device. And then we will choose this web camera right here. And oops, is that the right one? I want this one. So let me remove that. That was a good demonstration of what not to do. Click on video capture device, and we want, I believe, my webcam 4K. Here we go. Here we are right here. And you can at first see why I do this, because my camera captures all this extra stuff. It's like in a movie set where you see everything outside of what you want to be shown. So what I do here is I hover over and I hold down the Alt key, and I just kind of crop and then I hold down this and I crop, and I hold down this and I crop, and then I can drag this and enlarge it. And this is, maybe you don't even need to do this. This is just for my own purposes. That way I can show just the portion of my camera that I want to show. That's the first step. And then what I do is, let's say next I am about to interview an author for my podcast. So let's say I'm interviewing Martin Fleming, who's a very skilled author, and I click on his Amazon page, and I can maybe click on the image and right click and save image. So I'm saving his book cover, and I'll just call this Breakthrough, so that way I can find it. And then I can completely close that. And now I'm here back in my OBS Studio where I had my web camera. I click on this plus sign again, and then I can choose image, and then I'll just, call this book cover. And then it says, okay, browse for your image. So I will browse for this, and I'll go to the downloads where I just saved his cover, and there it is. And if I delete the image or delete the file, then it will not show this anymore. But while the file exists on my computer, then I can put in any image that I want. And so I just go to this corner here, and I resize it, and I drag it, and I need to make sure it's in the space here. So this way, now I can potentially just record a video, and I need to make sure that the book cover, you see how there's like the layer order, the book cover is up above the camera, and then there's this eyeball here, so I can unclick it, and now it's just me on the camera. But then if I click on it again, then we can be on a Zoom call. If I'm using my virtual camera right here, I click Start Virtual Camera, and on Zoom, instead of my usual camera as the source, I use OBS Virtual Camera, and we can just be talking. And then when it comes time to mention the book cover, I can just kind of go and look over on my screen here and click on this eyeball and show the book cover right there. And this way, on a recording or on a Zoom call, I can recreate that same sort of effect here, where instead of physically holding someone's book, which is not always doable, it's the next best thing where you're flashing their book on their screen. And so like I said, if I happen to be interviewing an author for my podcast and they want to promote their book, and so that's just a quick step I take right before meeting someone on a Zoom call. If they're an author, I go to their Amazon page, I right-click and download their cover, I go to OBS and I add an image source, and then I go and I browse to the book cover and put it over here on the side, and then unclick. And that sounds like a lot of steps, but it's really only like 30 seconds at the most right before a Zoom call. And then we can be on a Zoom call, and I can click this eyeball and flash their book cover on the screen. It's not world-changing or mind-blowing, but I think it is a nice touch if you are someone who is interviewing authors on your podcast. This is Robert Plank from dfypodcast.com. We can handle your podcasting needs. Imagine if you just showed up and all the production was done for you. If that sounds good, or even sounds like a possibility, then go to find me. It's at dfypodcast.com/call. That's CALL. Let's schedule a call. Let's talk about your podcasting plans. And that way you can get to the high level decisions, such as having fun and having this book cover right there on your podcast. Bye for now.